Hello, everybody. I'm Elliot Brecht with the Cheeky Scientist, and welcome to another episode of Ask Cheeky. Today's question comes from Sean Flory, and they ask, what are the most important transferable skills to industry employers? And this is a great question, especially now during these times, because as PhDs, we like to focus on all of those skills and the techniques and everything that we've learned while gaining our PhD knowledge. All of those, lab skills, the bench skills, all of those things that we did to acquire the data that we then were able to write our dissertations and get our PhDs with. However, these are not the skills that an employer actually is looking for, especially now during these times. They're looking for the higher skills that you have, those things that actually require your mind and not just necessarily you being able to complete these rudimentary tasks in repetition. Thing is they want to make sure that you can actually leave away from the bench or the computer, depending on how you're collecting your data, and actually then start showcasing your knowledge in a more meaningful way. They want to look and see that you have things like project and team management, that you're able to go through and run and organize several different projects at the same time, that you're able to go through and actually use your mind to analyze the data, to go over and actually make some sort of meaningful, connections from what that data actually shows, and then be able to then showcase that data to a diverse team. So they want to go over and see that you have all these additional communication skills, that you've able to gone through and actually teaching other people how to run these assays, to glean what is actually important from that data that you've collected. They're not as concerned about you physically being able to collect the data. They want to know that you can then, know where it's collected or how it's collected and what it means, but then you need to be able to actually take your mind and actually take what is meaningful from that. They want to know that you can then go through and actually broadcast this out to a larger audience. They want to know that you can go over and do this with multiple projects at the same time. They want to know that you can actually pivot from one project to the next, so that if there is something like a setback in a project, you can pivot and go over and change the goals and change the experimentation and go over like, all right, this didn't work. Now we need to go over and, come to this next, go around this or go to this next level so that we can go over and see what's next. Being able to go through and not just necessarily attaching to finding the end goal, like a dog with a bone. They want to know that if it's a dead end, you can showcase and know that, all right, that's a dead end. We're going to move on to the next thing, meaning you can go over and pivot to the next project, which you're going to be running multiple at the same time. They want to know that you can analyze these large, massive amounts of data. You're going through and you know how to do the analysis. You're not going over and again just collecting that data. They want to know that you can do these large amounts of analysis and then communicate it in a meaningful way to audiences. So any of those writing for your dissertation, that's writing right there. Any poster presentations that you've done, any talks that you've given at a conference, any talks you've given in your lab meetings, going over and talking about the science that you've done, being able to go over and let other people know and interpret it in a great way so that they also can understand what you're talking about as well. They want to know that you can do all of these other skills as well. They're not as concerned, again, about how you're collecting the data, that, what piece of equipment you've used, or, what experimentations you've actually done, what bench work you've done, what types of things you've done in this sense, or, how many hours you spend out in the field collecting data, how you went over and all the surveys you conducted. They'll have other people that'll collect and do this data, which is then going to blow you away at the amount of data that you'll be getting in from other people collecting the data for you, robotics collecting the data, sending out massive amounts of surveys that are actually getting more responses than the surveys you did as a PhD. Going over and then being able to take all of this and then determine what is the meaningful aspect of all of that data, and then being able to broadcast it to a larger audience. It's not just those within your own community. They want to know that you can actually speak both languages, those of the lay people and the scientists, being able to converge it together, doing multiples of these at the same time, going through and making something meaningful coming from this. These types of, working with the communication, working with different teams, working with, mentoring people, going through and doing the time management, being able to actually complete your dissertation, the time management, the amount, that you needed to go through so that you could actually, complete your project so you can actually graduate. These types of things are the ones that you want to go through and actually showcase and talk to them about. These transferable skills are the ones that they really need to know. And it's not just the things you gained in your academic career. You can also gain these during volunteer work, any side projects you did, running with and working with your kids at home while doing these, especially, if you've got kids and doing this, you're working with unruly subordinates, you're going through and teaching all of these things to people, being able to, negotiate with the people so that you can get your project done, negotiating with your PI so that they'll actually read your papers and make sure that you can actually get these things published, working with these people and negotiating how to do these things. These are great skills, and these are the ones that employers are actually wanting you to have. And these are the things that you have to showcase. Yes, they want to know that you know how to, where this data is collected, how it's collected, but it's those other things. It's those measurable, tangible results that come from it that you've created, that you've done. Those are the things that they want to know. They want to know and have those measurable results in there. Having those publications, training different people, going through and working with multiple projects at the same time. These are the types of skills that they actually want you to have. And you all have these as PhDs. And that's the thing, is you just have to recognize and realize your value as a PhD, that you have these skills. And this is why we're always telling you to remember your value as a PhD and keep thinking and acting like an industry professional. You have those skills already in your tool belt. You just don't realize it. And if you want to learn some more about how we get PhDs hired into these great industry positions, please go to phdsgethired.com to learn more about our flagship program, the Cheeky Scientists Association. And there we can go over and really get you into that industry position that is going to excite you before the end of the year. All right, bye guys.